all across the country, that's repeating itself. They've ceased to respond to what they call Category 3 reports at all, just Category 1 and 2, but Category 3, which is when there isn't any visible, immediate sort of fish kill, even that is, if you have many, many Category 3s, they all add up. So the situation is that the government, although it has passed many good laws to combat environmental pollution, river pollution, with one hand, with the other hand, it's been taking away the resources for the regulators who are supposed to enforce those laws, which mean the laws, it's essentially legalization by under-resourcing. I don't have a neat term for that, but that's what it is. So if it's on us to do something about cleaning up the river, what is there that we can do? Well, there are two categories of water that the government is obliged to regularly monitor the quality of, and if the quality is substandard, to improve it. And those are shellfish beds, sadly not much good for us here, the lack of shellfish in the Wye, and also bathing water, places where substantial numbers of people swim. The government is obliged to monitor the quality of the water, and if it's substandard, to improve it. Now, this is a European directive, and it has been primarily in the UK applied to coastal waters. Beaches all around the UK have bathing status designation, but recently, in the last couple of years, there's been two rivers in England, the Wharfe in Ilkley and a tributary of the Thames in Oxfordshire, that have also gained bathing status designation. And what does this mean? All it means is that the regulator, whether that's Environment Agency or here, NRW, are obliged to check the water quality between May and September, and regularly, that's it. And in practice, that means they check for sewage bacteria to show the presence or otherwise of sewage. Now, obviously, we've been hearing a lot about how the problem in the Wye is mainly caused by agricultural pollution, and that is true, but partly that's because we don't know how big the problem caused by sewage is, because as the work of Professor Hammond, who works with Windrush against sewage pollution, shows, all of the water companies across the UK have been cheating on an industrial scale when it comes to reporting the amount of sewage they've been putting in our waters. There is now an open Ofwat, an Environment Agency investigation into all but one of the water companies in England and Wales. It's absolutely staggering. So there has been a lot of sewage being dumped in the Wye by Welsh Water. We know that from their own figures, but if what it looks like from other places the Welsh Water has been dumping sewage, it may well be that they've been substantially underreporting what they've been doing. So the aim of getting bathing water designation is to check what they're doing, essentially to force the regulators to do the job that they're not currently doing. Now, the place where I've been looking at, the place I'm keen on, is the jewel of Hayes Crown, apart from the castle, which many of you know, of course, which is the Warren. The Warren, if you don't know it, you should acquaint yourself with it immediately, just upstream of Hay. It's a place where people from Hay have swum and fished and generally enjoyed themselves for generations, but it was bought in the 1970s by the Warren Trust to save it from becoming a caravan park, and they have kept it in the most immaculate condition, doing amazing work. If you're there in the evening, you regularly see Jeff Morgan, who doesn't just run the angling side, picking up all the litter that people leave there, and generally looking after it and making sure that it's ready for the people of Hay. And so they have done astonishing work in keeping the land, the beach, and the meadow clean and in perfect condition since the 1970s, but sadly, even the Warren trustees aren't able to do anything about the river, because no matter how good a job they do on land, the river keeps coming from elsewhere, and so the water quality for upstream continually impacts on the Warren. So I'm keen to apply for bathing status for the Warren. I've been talking to the trustees. They have some concerns, but I'm hoping to talk them round and persuade them that this is a good idea. My aim then would be, if we gain bathing status for the Warren, would be then to use that as a starting point to go both upstream and downstream, to then go Bredwardine and the Bont in Glaisbury, and then Hereford, and then move upstream possibly to the Junction Pool up towards Rhayader, and then move on to the Usk as well. There's no reason why we'd have to just stop at the Wye. We could get the Prom in Brecon or other bathing sites on the Usk, essentially to force NRW and the EA in Herefordshire to check the quality of the water, to check the sewage bacteria in it, and to then clean up the water to prevent that going on. It is not a perfect technique. A lot of people will say to me, well, why can't we just get bathing status for the whole river? That just isn't it's just not what the law says. The law says you can only get it for places where a sufficient number of people swim, so it can only be for isolated stretches. Or people will say, why do we have to privilege people over animals? Why do we say where people swim is more important than where, I don't know, water voles swim or otters swim? Yeah, it's a really good point as well. I couldn't agree more. But the law is the law, and we can only use the tools that we have. So essentially, by cleaning up the water, by cleaning up the water where people swim, we will also clean up the water where the fish swim, where the otters eat, and so on. So it is actually benefit everyone. There is a bathing water designation. It will benefit anglers. It will benefit canoeists. Though anglers and canoeists don't always see eye to eye on many things or anything, I think that they can agree that they all want to be next to or on a river which is of good quality. So what does it mean? What do we need to do to get bathing water designation? Well, it is simply a question of being able to prove that a sufficient number of people swim somewhere. So with a small but highly focused and dedicated team of comrades, we're currently doing a survey at the Warren to check just to make a survey of how many people are swimming there, paddling there, fishing there, and so on. So we will be able to present that data to the Welsh Government after the bathing season has ended, after September. So we're doing really well. I've got a very good spreadsheet. Happy to show anyone, if any spreadsheet enthusiasts in the audience. Once we've got that, we need to run the idea past other, I think the word is stakeholders, so angling organisations, and Hay, Town Council, and so on. Try and make sure no one objects. And then hopefully we'll be able to make an application, if I can persuade the Warren trustees that this is a good idea, in the autumn, and hopefully by the beginning of the bathing season next year, we would have the status, and they would be regularly checking the status of the water at the Warren, and we'd be able to move on to the Bont in Glaisbury, Bredwardine, and so on, up and down the river. Because it shouldn't just be a single point at the Warren. The pollution is coming in from multiple places, multiple sewage works all the way up the river, multiple dispersed septic tanks and so on. So it won't be enough just to check one place. We need to check multiple places all the way up the river, and essentially to force the regulators to clean up the river from top to bottom. That's the idea. I think it's a good one. It is the best tool that we have to essentially force the government to do the job that it's supposed to be already doing, and I think it could be a very powerful one. So if anyone would like to get on board to join my crack team of volunteers, the crack team of surveyors whose data feeds into the exciting spreadsheet of wonder, which I can show you, please come and talk to me afterwards. I have some slightly dog-eared, actually, handouts, which I made this morning and have been a bit bashed about in my bag, and which would show what you do. It's very easy. All you have to do if you're going to the Warren anyway is just to make a note of who's there and what they're doing and send me that information, and we can compile it all and hopefully get this done and start the process of forcing the government and its regulators to do their job. Thank you very much.